Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 8 of Turtle War Season 3. We are officially halfway through regular season. Isn't that exciting? We've got quite a few high tier matches to get through tonight, 5, and only 2 low tier matches for this one. It's going to be a fun episode, though, for sure. Opening fight is immediately a very interesting one. UFO 5 takes on Generic. That is a great match. I'll be honest. Generic 1-0 with their win over Heatwave. UFO 5, if I remember correctly, 0-1 after a split decision loss to Extra Peppermint. Very interesting match ahead. We do know UFO 5 as a spinner killer, but it's taking on the best spinner in the game. After that, two other very good spinners take each other on. Badlands takes on Quality Control. Both these machines, I believe, disappointing losses in the opening round. Quality Control, though, a win here would be very good for them because their loss was judge's decision against Soichoku. So 1-1 with their loss being that, it's pretty nice. After that, the biggest cheese, who got wrecked by green screen, takes on Conundrum Evo, who somehow have an out of the arena. It's going to be an interesting match. It's going to be weird to see how the biggest cheese deals with a machine like Conundrum Evo, who is, so chaotic and invertible and so hard to deal with. After that, we have one of our 2 low tier matches of the night. Synthetic against Claw Viper. 2 similar style control bots. Synthetic, obviously, a bit more success in their opening bout than Claw Viper, who had a disappointing end to their opening match. After that, 2 losers of highlighted fights, if I remember correctly. Spider takes on Skynet. It's a fun match. Skynet, very interesting design. It's a bit top heavy, so it's not ideal. Spider, in the meantime, also very interesting design, very fun design. It's actually got interchangeable weapons. We'll see if it chooses to go with the flipper or the axe for this matchup. After that, Soichoku takes on Tsunami. This is pretty tough when it comes to a draw for Tsunami, who has a pretty tough schedule ahead of him, I do believe. A win here would be huge for him. Soichoku, though, looking to advance to 2-0 and pretty much secure themselves a spot in the playoffs. Our main event sees 2 Chinese machines take each other on, and it's an age-old discussion. Control versus power. Wavelength, very consistent, very controlled. Little drum spinner on it, doesn't do much damage. Abol, in the meantime, bigger drum spinner, a lot more damage. It's a devastating machine. It'll be interesting to see how Abol bounces back from its opening loss. I believe both these machines actually own one. I could be speaking complete falsehoods at the moment, but it's going to be a fun main event, a good old Chinese brawl. It's going to be interesting to witness some chaotic fights here. But let's open up.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Turtle Wars' 3rd season. We are now heading into episode 8, and tonight we are finishing up round 2. The main event, a battle of power versus control. 2 vertical spinner, kind of drum-esque machines from King of Bots, great from the Chinese scene, as Wavelength and Abol face each other. But will power prevail, or will control? Well, it's a similar story here in our opening match, the power of Generic taking on the control of UFO 5. Generic got a very impressive win over Heatwave in Episode 2's main event. UFO 5 fell to Extra Peppermint, very disappointingly. By judge's decision, I do believe. It was close, but just not enough. And close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. So heading into the arena now, UFO 5 needs to get the victory over Generic, which is not going to be easy by any means. 3, 2, 1, activate, and here we go. Both machines coming at it, and big hits from Generic already, but not as big as his normal shots, and UFO 5 shoving him into the wall, shoving him over even, and now Generic forced to self-right, in danger for the first time this season. They do get back up, and they are the ones flipping UFO 5. UFO 5 chucks Generic into the wall using its own spinner, the kinetic energy that it creates to chuck Generic across the arena, and now Generic spiraling about, trying to get back onto its wheels. And there it is. It manages to, but it's just struggling now. UFO 5, very impressive showing so far. Generic, they've got to be able to bounce back from this, because this is a very poor start from them. They've been on their back more than they've been on their wheels, and that weapon is not chewing up UFO 5 like they expected, like they anticipated, as we cross into the 2-minute mark. A decent shot from Generic there, but now UFO 5 has them on their back, and the Dutchman now whacking down on Generic. That is not at all what you want to be seeing here. And it is UFO 5 on top from this fight. This is ridiculous and insane. I'm not gonna lie. Never in a million years would I be predicting Generic to be on the back foot in this match, but they are, and the Dutchman bringing down that axe again. And Generic cannot do a thing. We're halfway through this fight, and Generic is just falling further and further behind on points, and they are unable to get underneath UFO 5. They're getting outdriven, out-controlled every step of the way, and now the underbelly getting whacked by the Dutchman. That's gotta be tough. That one's gotta hurt. And UFO 5 on top yet again. Or should I say underneath, because they keep on getting underneath Generic, and there they go again. Lifting him up onto his back. He hits the wall with the disc. A minute left in this match. Generic finally a decent shot back, but it's been so long since they got one, and they might be falling to 1-1 here. That is so disappointing if it happens. The pit open could be a saving grace for Generic in this match, but it probably won't be, because they are getting outdone at every turn. They are unable to get a single shot in at the moment. UFO 5 countering them so well, and there it is. They're back up onto their back, put into the Dutchman's corner again, and there's just so little that you can do if you're Generic at the moment. It feels like you're just getting bested at every turn. They cannot get under UFO 5. They cannot touch UFO 5. 15 seconds left in this fight, and Generic has fallen behind. UFO 5, a second judge's decision, but this time, there's no question about who won, I think. Maybe the judges saw something I didn't, but to me, it's over. Cease. Over and done with. Generic. So disappointing in that match. But maybe the judges will see it in a different light. Well, here we have the judges' decision. The winner by 6-3 decision is UFO 5. 3-0 in control, 2-1 in aggression. They did lose out on damage, but it didn't matter in the end. UFO 5, a big victory for them. A win over Generic is going to certainly boost their chances of the playoffs, and considering how dominant it was, that is impressive. Generic, in the meantime, is going to have to sit back and think about what has happened. This was a disappointing performance from them. They got outclassed and outdriven. They've got to come back to the drawing board for the next time they face UFO 5, because now it's very likely that both of these machines are going to make the tournament. With that, though, this was only the first match of the night, and it was fantastic. So, let's get to the second. And here we are back for the second fight of the night. In the arena, quality control lasted the full 30 minutes against Sochoku. Very impressive. But didn't exactly have a close loss to them. They survived, they got a couple of good shots, but there was never a moment where you thought, oh, maybe they can take Sochoku down. In the meantime, they take on Badlands, who are a veteran. They've competed for a long time. They're a very solid machine. They lost to Sochoku last season. That was how they got eliminated. They lost to Badlands in their first match this season. They want redemption. They need to get a win here. Both these bots do. But at the same time, a loss wouldn't be impossible to mount a comeback from, given the machines and the pedigree of the bots that they've lost to. 2-2 could be enough to make it to the top 32 for both of these machines. But obviously a win would certainly help. Let's see who gets it. 3, 2, 1. Activate, and here we go. Quality control. Getting up to speed and getting getting Badlands inside of them, similar to what Seichoku did to him. And now whacking Badlands into Minnow's corner patrol zone. Something just got shaved off of somebody. Not really sure what that is. I think it's a bit of Badlands disc that got shaved off by Minnow's spinner, which is actually incredibly impressive for a house server to be doing that much damage. Trying to flip over quality control in Badlands, similarly to what Seichoku was able to do. Badlands really trying their best here, but they get smacked, and that's a ton of damage. That's a whole side looking dangered, and Minnow absolutely decimates this poor Badlands machine. It just got decimated. It is dead in the water. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cease. A big win out of quality control. Big loss from the camera angle. Maybe like that. Totally not DIY fixing the camera angle right now or anything. DIY, that's totally what this is. You know, sometimes I wonder if maybe I'm not a good commentator, and then I think about how amazing I am at everything else, and it must be true that I'm great at commentating as well. Anyway, Badlands 0-2, disappointing performance in these matches. Quality control, though, looking very impressive. This 1-1 record is pretty strong. Another win would probably guarantee top 32 for them. But who knows? On to the next fight of the night. To our third fight of the night, another high-tier match. A bunch of them this episode in a row. But we have the 1-0 Conundrum Evo, who pulled off a surprise victory over Tsunami that was very impressive from them. Uta, whatever. They take on the Biggest Cheese, who got kind of decimated by green screen. 2-0 would be huge for Conundrum Evo. The Biggest Cheese, though, they do not want to fall to 0-2. 3, 2, 1. Activate. Not impossible to come back from, especially for a high-tier machine who can always have that strength of schedule excuse. Oh, bringing that hammer down. That hammer saw a huge hit to the rear, though, from Conundrum Evo. That's gotta hurt. But cease! What a flip! The Biggest Cheese! The Biggest Cheese chucked Conundrum Evo out the arena like Conundrum Evo chucked Tsunami out in their first match. The Biggest Cheese make themselves a 1-1. It looked like there was a lot of potential for Conundrum Evo there, but one flip was all it took. The Biggest Cheese potentially saving their season with that one. Not much more else to say. On to the next match. Here we head into a low-tier match for the first time tonight, weirdly enough. Claw Viper had a close loss to Lightning Strikes. Very disappointing that their weapon broke off. Had it not, they probably would have won that match. In the meantime, Synthetic took a upset victory over Iron Off 4. Sitting at 1-0 right now, it wants to prove it's the better control bot design. If it does so, if it gets to 2-0, with an impressive showing, it could be in a very solid spot for making the top 32, albeit the strength of schedule isn't amazing. So, probably not a high seed, but 2-0 would be fantastic for the synthetic machine, who's got a very unique design by comparison to pretty much every other machine in the field. Let's head into it. 3, 2, 1. Activate. Ribcage and Minnow still near it, because, like, Ribcage landed some shots last fight, but let's be honest, he didn't really do anything. They were mostly, after the fight was over, shots. Oh, a lift from Synthetic as well. Decent control shown early. Synthetic proving to be the lower machine as well. That is impressive. And there's a good grab. Oh, what a grab! The suplex! Claw Viper onto its back. Being forced to try and self-right. And now Ribcage bringing down the weapon into the weapon of Claw Viper, which we've seen to be fragile in the past. That spinner has got to hurt. Claw Viper struggling to get back up now. Really struggling. This is surprising. We've seen Claw Viper self-right in the past. And there it is. They finally do manage to get back up. But Claw Viper lost a lot of time to that. And Synthetic is right back on top of him. And another good grab right onto its head. Claw Viper back to struggling to self-right. Although now, based on the position it is in, it might not be able to. Synthetic. Oh, Claw Viper. Good. Good self-right. Synthetic there trying to keep Claw Viper pinned towards that wall. Trying to make sure that it can't do too much to get out of it. But Claw Viper much faster to self-right the second time around. Another shove into a corner patrol zone. Ribcage bringing the weapon down, entirely missing. That is what we expect from the house robots, isn't it? Right onto Claw Viper's weapon, though. Claw Viper now trying to get an attack in, but Synthetic is got a very low center of gravity. Lower than most bots in the field. It's a very hard machine to get under, even though it's not really wedged all the way around. It's just a very low center of gravity. We've got sub 1 minute left in this match. These two machines, they've given a good fight, but it's mostly been Synthetic. I don't think Claw Viper's gotten an attack in. Although Synthetic, the plow has come off. Now that could lead to a change of pace in this match. He's still underneath for the moment. And he's actually got a grab from the weapon. He's on one of the claws of Claw Viper at the moment. 2 seconds left. 1 cease. That is it for this match. We go to the judges. And Synthetic's claw actually comes off right at the end. I think it's a pretty easy decision to make, though. Here we are with the judges' decision. Pretty straightforward one, but let's announce it, shall we? The winner, by an 8-1 decision, is Synthetic. Dominant showing throughout the match. They did lose their plow right at the end, but that was less Claw Viper breaking it off and more it breaking itself, so only the 1 damage point going to Claw Viper. Aside from that, a sweep in control and aggression. Fantastic showing from Synthetic. A judge's decision, yes, but it's a victory, and it was a dominant one. 2-0 for this machine. 0 and 2 for Claw Viper. It's a decent couple of showings from Claw Viper, but to be honest with you, it's probably not enough. I've said it before, a low-tier machine going 2-2, probably gonna have a tough time making it to the bracket. Who knows, though? Claw Viper, if they can bounce back impressively enough, they could do it. But I don't know. Synthetic sitting at 2-0. Surprising, really. Didn't expect them to beat Iron Off 4, but here they are. Control Bot with 2 very solid victories. Could be looking at a top 32 spot, but we don't know. On to the next match. Here we are, the final fight before tonight's main event. 2 machines that were in highlight fights and lost in the first round. Skynet took a loss to Storm 2 because of its top-heavy nature. Using its axe, Spider was unable to do anything. Demonic ripped one of its drive pods off, and that's all she wrote. Both these bots looking for redemption, because falling to 0-2, not really great for a low-tier machine. 3, 2, 1. Activate, and here we go. Skynet trying to drive off, but making a driving mistake, it seems. Spider gets under and gets the first 2 attacks of the match. Make that 3, although that one didn't really do anything. Skynet forced herself right, and the top heaviness of that spinning saw blade, alongside just everything else. Oh, big hit, though, from Skynet. That's one thing it sure does have, and that's power. Oh, a big flip, though, from Spider. Spider undefeated with its flipper attachment, technically speaking. Never won with its axe attachment, so, you know, take that how you will. Skynet firing the saw blade, but not disciplined enough, maybe, because that was a mistake, and that was them almost out of the arena. Spider getting really close on some of these flips. And it's Skynet who is trying his best to live. Tipping Skynet over every time, every step of the way, though, is Spider. And there's just not a ton that Skynet is doing in return, really. Spider firing this flipper oh so aggressively, and again, so nearly out of the arena with that flip. And there it is! Cease! Skynet chucked out. Spider advancing to 1-1. Skynet 0-2. Tough to recover from that. But now it's time for the main event. Here we are heading into one of the last fights of the night. Only one more after this, and then the main event, Abol versus Wavelength. A fight of control versus power. Abol, devastating vertical spinner. Wavelength, a vertical spinner, but not all that devastating. But before we get into that, we have this match, which could be really interesting. So Choku took the judge's decision win back in Episode 3's main event over Quality Control. They were dominant in it, yes, but not dominant enough to get the KO. Which is a very interesting fact, because they've made their weapon more powerful, so you'd think a KO would be more likely. In the meantime, Tsunami got chucked out of the arena by a full-body spinner in Conundrum Evo to fall to 0-1. Look, strength of schedule is a factor, and Tsunami has had some kind of rough draws here. They're taking on Soichoku now, they'll take on Gravity later on. Those are excusable losses. But a win over Soichoku, now that might be enough in itself to guarantee top 32. But let's see. Let's get into the match. 3, 2, 1. Activate. And here we are. Soichoku getting the weapon up to speed and getting in onto Tsunami. Those exposed sides that are so easy to hit. And Tsunami now upside down, up into the wall even, and getting whacked now. Tsunami struggling to self right now. They did this against Conundrum Evo, and it was something that set up to their out of the arena ending. Can they get back up? Struggling at the moment, but yes, they can. Tsunami does get a flip in. Will it be enough to lead to anything, though? So Choku just kind of hitting back hard. Tsunami missing a flip. That is a bad miss to have, because now Shoku getting in onto the side and really tearing into the underbelly of Tsunami. There's so little you can do in this situation, especially when you're Tsunami and you're struggling to self-right like you are. Big flip from Tsunami, though. Can they take advantage? Can they take advantage into the Dutchman's corner? But that's not what Tsunami want. They want the Uta, but no. Soichoku self-rights. The Dutchman has his axe stuck into Soichoku. I wonder if that will be telling damage later on. But at the moment, Soichoku looks fine, and Tsunami certainly does not. Getting whacked about, struggling to get back onto its wheels, but it does. Tipping him up. Big flip from Tsunami. They're getting into this match now. Never count Tsunami out of a fight. They've got a very powerful weapon, and that's Soichoku's weapon off of the machine. Tsunami now, if they can get up, they could change the tide of this match, and they have gotten up. Tsunami now kind of eating. Soichoku, sub 50 seconds left, by the way, in this fight. Tsunami's flipper snaps! Both bots weaponless. But Tsunami, the one that can't self-right without it. And with the steepness of Soichoku's now wedge-shaped body, he might just flip him over, and he has! Onto the mouth, and Tsunami, they're the ones that suffer without their weapons. Soichoku, they've had it break before. They know how to deal with matches without it. And with the new lower forks, it's so tough to get underneath Soichoku to stop that wedge. But Tsunami, they're going to survive, actually. Not enough time for the countout. Cease. It is going to be a judge's decision. Soichoku certainly ending the victor, but will the judges see it the same way? Tsunami had some strong points, and this is now his second judge's decision out of Soichoku. A match where their opponent spent a lot of time trying to self-right, and it's got to be a bit disappointing if you're Soichoku to not have won this match by KO. Well, here we are with the judge's decision, right? Both bots certainly sustained damage. Both bots certainly stayed aggressive the whole time. But let's be honest, one machine had the edge. The winner by a 6-3 judge's decision is Soichoku! It certainly helps that they ended the match pretty much KOing Tsunami, just not enough time for the countout to happen. Soichoku, though, now 2-0, playoffs certainly guaranteed, just fighting for a top seed, which might be easier with Plank falling to 1-1. In the meantime, Tsunami, 0-2, tough losses to take, but not impossible to bounce back from. This was a decent showing from them against a very, very good machine. Their Conundrum Evo fight is disappointing, but we'll see how they bounce back in their next 2 matches. With that, we're on to the penultimate fight of round 2 and the night. Let's see who's fighting. Here it is, the main event. 2 Chinese powerhouses domestically. Wavelength, so successful. The reigning King of Bots Great champion. And since there will be no more seasons of King of Bots Great, unless there's like suddenly an uproar of people wanting it, unless that sudden uproar of requests comes in, no more seasons, they will always be the reigning King of Bots Great champion. Meanwhile, there's Abol, such a powerful bot, the scoop-like design leading into that wedge, leading into that drum, so devastating. Wavelength, it's just a low bot. It's pretty much just a wedge pusher. Its drum is mostly for show. Control is its game. Abol's game is about power, not control. Abel took a loss to TR5 in its first match, while Wavelength was able to dominate Badlands for its own victory. Only one of these machines is going to come out of this arena with their season still alive. That's not true at all. That's just a straight up lie. Abel, a win here would keep their season alive. It's perfectly okay to excuse a loss to a machine of the caliber of TR5, but they certainly need a win here to really impress. Losses to TR5 and Wavelength, they're not the worst. Those are two machines that are probably going to be going 3-1, 4-0. So you always got that strength of schedule excuse. But a win over one of them, that would be a statement. That would be something that could certainly guarantee you a higher seeding in the playoffs. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Activate Wavelength and Abel here. Two Chinese machines, domestic competitors, and Abel gets the first blow and the second blow, and Wavelength falling over Abel as well, flipping itself. Big hits from Abel, though, are sending his opponent sky high. There's another one. Abel scoop. Too low. Cease. Wavelength sent over the wall. Sub 30 seconds that match, and it was all Abel. Wavelength, get your control out of here. Power is what really matters. That's what Abel says, and that's what he just proved. A huge win for the vertical drum machine as opposed to the horizontal drum machine. Ignore what I say. It's always stupid, you know? It's whatever. Why can't we get good main event fights? I swear, like, this is the 8th one. How many ones have been good? 1? Maybe 2? Like, they've all been super one-sided, and most of them been pretty quick. But oh well. At the end of the season, when we're talking about the 10 best fights, not a single main event's going to be in there, and that's okay. You know? That's fine. That's... Oh my. Anyway, that's the end of round 2. Aside from the 4 highlight fights, you have seen every single match this round. And now, like I've said at the end of every episode in round 2, it feels like, 2-0 as a high tier bot, you're probably set. Most likely, playoffs are yours. Top 32 is yours. You're just fighting for seeding now. 0-2 as a low tier bot, your season's probably done. It's going to be tough to bounce back from a poor start like that. And you have to be even more impressive because you're a low tier machine. They're going to be picking 1 and 3 high tier machines before they pick you, certainly. So, if you're 0-2 as a low tier bot, you're probably done. With all that said, though, I will see you all next time for the start of round 3.